Hi. Welcome back.
Yeah. This is our last day on contracts.
Yep, we're down to inspection, our last contingency, or another contingency, might not be the last one, but
yeah. And we actually have a video on inspections.
we do a good one.
It's really good, and it is going to be at the end of this video. Go to the top right hand corner, click on it, and that's our inspection video. It's
like
fantastic.
a home inspector,
Yes.
and he gives a lot of good information about the home inspection.
He does.
There are lots of pages, and they're scary, but they don't have to be.
They don't have to be. Not at all. Yeah. So we're just going to touch on a few things. This is going to be pretty quick. As far as the inspection, watch that video. But what it comes down to, which is what we want to talk about, is the resolution period. And that is, we get so many days for an inspection. I usually put in 10 to 14.
Yep, 10 days. I usually put 10 days because you can get an inspector in there in 10 days.
You can.
And then,
you absolutely
and
can.
usually I'll do a 3-day resolution.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're cut from the same cloth.
I learned from the best.
But in the resolution period, 3 things happen, or 3 things can happen. Number 1, the seller and the buyer enter into a repair replacement amendment. But before the amendment comes, there's a proposal that goes back and forth. I'll take the proposal as the buyer, and let's say Trish is the seller, and I'll go, here, Trish, here's our proposal. This is what we want.
I'll take it to my seller and see what they can do.
Great, let's do it. And she's either going to come back with another proposal, or we make it into an amendment because we all agree this is great. The second thing is the buyer provides a written notice to the seller that the buyer will accept the property as is. That's great too. The third thing is the seller and the buyer go into a written agreement to extend the resolution period. If we can't come to an agreement and we want to...
Well, sometimes it takes some research. Let me see what I can do to get that fixed and who I can get in here to fix that. And, it takes a little bit long to get somebody out to look at it and see what they can do.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So that's what would happen there.
To extend.
The only other thing that could possibly come up with that is that the buyer just goes, I'm out.
Yeah, if the seller says I'm not doing anything and it's really important that you want it fixed or taken care of and they won't do it, well, they'll have to find another buyer.
Right. And then the other thing is, let's say the foundation is falling into the ground. You don't want the house.
I wouldn't let you buy that house.
Yeah. We're going to stop you on that before we even get here.
Yep.
And then the rest of the contract, that is page 7. And then page 7, and then we have page
8, 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah, basically.
Which is a lot of definitions.
Yeah. Like page 12, they talk about disclosures and Remax's position as the broker and the other broker and what their position is, and default clauses, just things that have to do with contracts. And as we sit down, we can go into them, but you do not want us reading this because, we want to keep you awake. Home protection plan. We do talk about the home protection plan, and that is a conversation. Yeah. I mean, you can get a home protection plan for a year or 3 years or 5 years or not. You don't have to. You can ask the seller to purchase it for you. We can talk about that when the time comes. The responsibility to cooperate. That's very important. If, let's say, you sent over a proposal to the seller's agent on the inspection, and the seller or the seller says, hey, I'm going to sit on it for a week. Well, that's not cooperating.
Right.
Yeah, and that goes for the entire contract.
I think they mentioned in here, time is of the essence. And everything has a timeline to it. So everybody needs to cooperate. They want to sell their house, they need to cooperate. You want to buy their house, you need to cooperate. It all comes together and works.
Yep. And the good thing is, the realtors usually cooperate as well.
Right.
It's very seldom you run into a realtor who is not professional. They're out there though. I will say that. Not us. Okay, sellers' additional obligations. They have obligations as well. They are obliged to keep the electricity, the utilities going, maintaining the lawn,
Maintain the property.
Maintaining
you don't
the
just let
property.
it go downhill because they're moving.
Right.
You have to keep it up.
Right.
Because you do get a final inspection a day before you close. You get to walk through that property and make sure when they moved out, they didn't put holes in the walls, moving the furniture, and everything is in the same condition or better as when you went under contract with it.
Yep. Special stipulation, if there are any. One of the special stipulations would be if you're paying closing costs. That would be a stipulation. Let's say they wanted...
If the seller's paying closing costs.
Yes, for the buyer. Another one would be, let's say there's a play set in the yard and they want it removed. That would be a special stipulation. Get it out. Time is of the essence, or also time of the offer. So when you put in, this is the very last thing that happens. You put a time limit on the offer. So let's say it's 12 o'clock today and we just wrote an offer. And we're not going to give the seller days and days to think about it. We're going to put probably 24 hours.
I usually do 24 hours. I'll put 5 o'clock the next day. Usually.
Yeah, that's usually
5
what I
o'clock
do.
the next day. You know, you should know whether you want to sell it for that
Price or
come
counter.
back, or counter, right?
So
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. You're trying to sell your place, so
Yeah.
let's sort of think about.
yeah, so that would probably be the last part of it, and then the last page is your signature. Now, yeah, you know what? The one thing we talked about that we should probably mention is that here's my offer. Here's my offer, Trish. Okay, I'm giving it to you. This is exactly what I want. And so I'm giving it to the other agent. Now, if the other agent takes it to the seller and the seller signs off on it, you're under contract. However, if the seller, let's say you change anything, the date, the closing date.
Yeah.
Let's say you change one word in the contract, it's a counter. If the seller changes anything, it is no longer a valid, it's not a contract. It's never a contract until everybody has signed off on it. So it's now in the seller's ballpark. If they change anything, they're going to give us.
Maybe they want to change the closing date. Maybe they're like, we're going to be out of town that day. You know, can we change that closing date a week later?
Yep.
They would counter that back to us. If you're okay changing that closing date to a week later,
And
we accept that.
But it's got to come back to us first. So Trish's sellers have just signed off saying, yeah, we like it, but we have a counter, and our counter is changing the closing date. So now I have a one-piece document, and it says counter number 1, and it says closing date's going to be changed, let's say, to October 3rd instead of October 2nd. Oh, no, we can't do the 3rd, we're doing the 4th. Okay, well, it's still not a contract, it's still an offer. So we sign the bottom saying, we're countering back to you, and that would become counter number 2. And it's another piece of paper, and we send it back to Trish and goes, we can close October 5th. And Trish goes, her clients say, okay, all right, that's good. So they have seen everything, they sign off on it, now it's a contract. Now it is a contract. And then the very last part.
Well, you bind it. So
Yep.
it's now a bound contract. And then all those timelines that are in here begin.
And they begin after it has been bound. And that's kind of a weird term, but basically what it is, the last person to touch the contract, the last realtor to touch the contract. So Trish says, yes, we accept it. So she signs off, or her buyers, her seller, signs off on it, comes back to me, I bind it. I say, I got it.
Got it.
We agree.
Yep.
And I'm signing off, on August 3rd. And that's when the 10 days for this starts and the 15 days for this starts. That is the timeline date where everything starts.
Right.
So yeah, I think
That's it.
it's it.
And we'll walk with you the whole way.
Yep.
Once it's bound, I usually will send out an email with all the dates. You know, by this day, you know, apply for your loan. And by this day, have your inspection done. And by this day, you know,
Yep.
spell it all out.
Yep. It's
And then it's hand over the key time. We go to reliable
we
title.
go to reliable title. So thank you so much. It's been great. We don't even know what our next project is, but we'll be back next Monday with a new.
We'll find something.
We'll find something. Thanks. Oh, cheers.
Oh, yeah.